Hi, I'm Robin Hanstead, and I am going to talk about my cultural artifact that I have chosen, which is the Flatiron. When I first started to consider what object I might want to choose in the very first, I think maybe discussion board post that we had, or maybe it was an assignment, I can't remember. I thought about all the different items and things we have in our house. Since we have 5 kids, we have boys, we have girls, we have pretty much everything. And the one thing that came to my mind and sort of stuck was this idea of my Flatiron, our hair straightener. And so it's something that is kind of involved in every day of our lives as far as the girls and I are concerned. And so I thought it might be interesting to just take a look and go through the exercise, go through the process of kind of answering all the questions about it. But as I did that, it was very interesting how deep and personal this conversation or this discussion really was for me. And it was a great revelation that I was actually able to share with my oldest daughter, and I'll get into that in a little while. So when I look at the Flatiron, I want to take a look at, okay, what and when I'm writing my paper, I'm asking myself, what effect does this have as far as on the culture itself, and what difference is it making in the lives of people, especially women? And what I found is that especially African American women. And so the first place that I kind of went in my research was I looked back historically. Okay, is the Flatiron something that has been around just for a little while? Is this just a new trend that women think, well, we need to have straight hair because that's the style? Or is this something that goes back further than that? And one thing I found in my research was that the idea of particularly Black women's hair being sort of looked at as not beautiful or something that should be hidden or changed actually goes back to before the Civil War. So that was an interesting part of my research, because as I first contemplated the Flatiron, what I really felt like was going to come of my research was that it's really a beauty problem, it's a perfection problem, it's a social media, uh, television, magazine problem where there's a certain look that is considered the most beautiful, and that we as women are all struggling, especially those of us with coarse curly hair, are struggling to maintain this ideal of what beauty is. But like I said, what I ended up finding that is when it comes to African American women, this is a much, much deeper, more personal struggle than I had originally realized. And so when I first went through the first exercise, professor told me and recommended to watch the movie on Netflix called Nappily Ever After. In that film is this amazing story in the book by Trisha Thomas, where she tells about a young Black woman named Violet and the struggle that she had her entire life because her mother was insistent that her big, coarse, curly hair be smoothed and straightened at all times. And what ends up happening is that in this movie is that Violet develops such an insecurity about ever having her own natural look, and really coming to believe that her own natural look was not acceptable, and that she was really not even lovable in her natural state when her hair was in her natural state. And so what happened in the movie is basically her journey to discover that her outer beauty was just as lovely in its natural state as when she used flat irons and everything, salon treatments and chemical products and everything that she could find to maintain this sort of smooth haired look that she grew to think was the only considerable way to be beautiful. So what I discovered after watching that movie is really what led me down this deeper road into understanding that there's certainly a struggle with beauty when it comes to especially women trying to maintain a standard that is so much more prevalent even with social media, of seeing what the picture of perfect beauty looks like and how to keep up with that or maintain that. But for Black women, there's almost a center of identity that is brought into a struggle when they feel that the natural God-given hair that they have is not beautiful, and that they need to look different or even look like maybe a white person's hair with its smoothness and its sleekness, and how that kind of a mentality and what the Flatiron actually is trying to do is not just simply change a hairstyle, but almost change the heart of how the person might even see themselves. So this became very personal for me because in about 1 month, my oldest daughter is going to marry a wonderful, lovely Black man named Charles. And so the interesting part is that all of my daughters and myself have coarse curly hair. And so this is, of course, why we need the Flatiron and why we have used the Flatiron. But what's interesting is I looked back at my daughter's journey, and I looked back to her teenage years. She spent a lot of time straightening her hair. And certainly I understand that more than likely she was trying to take that coarse hair that she was born with and make it into smooth, sleek hair because she thought that was more beautiful. Or something told her, or the culture told her that it was more beautiful. And over the last 2.5 years, as she has dated her fiance, she has completely learned how to manage her naturally curly hair and has gone from completely straightening her hair every day to having her hair completely naturally curly every day. And so this conversation caused me to look at that and question, why is that? Is that because she is loved by a man who finds her beautiful on the inside, and so she is more accepting of her natural appearance on the outside? Or is there something to it that because he has black curly hair and understands the culture that surrounds that and the naturalness and the beauty that comes with it, that she's been able to learn to love and appreciate her curly hair? Now, maybe it's both of those two things combined, and I don't know for sure. But a couple of the other areas that I really was able to look at in my research was the social implication of this cultural, not trend, this cultural artifact, in that there is a particular, almost a racial aspect that is present to this that I wasn't aware of. We talked about how, I researched and learned how oftentimes these Black women have been even told that they can't wear curly, naturally coarse hair to work or to certain places, and that it must be straightened. And then even to the fact of a psychological effect, as we go back to the movie in Violet, and how she grew up extremely insecure because of the way her mother approached her hair and dealing with that what I really came to understand through my research was that as women, there is a level to which the beauty and the cultural pressures surrounding that make it difficult for every woman to feel that she's beautiful and to feel that she measures up. And so we're always looking for these tools, whether it be a flat iron or a certain kind of makeup or exercise, all of these different kind of things and these ways that we try to improve our beauty. But what I really came to learn and understand what there's a whole is that there is a whole deeper level involving honest core identity for African American women as it relates to their hair, and things like the Flatiron perhaps become almost somewhat of an enemy in their lives. So theologically speaking, certainly this coming to accept and love the way God made us, the way He created us, and looking to Him alone and not to the world or to the culture itself or to the perfect pictures that we see is huge, because as we look at the Great Commission and as we look at sharing the gospel, and if we think of it in this setting and then this context of perhaps a girl like Violet who was from the very, very beginning of her life lied to essentially and told that her value lies in a certain look. And this is just one of the many ways that the world lies to us, that it is not what Jesus Christ did on the cross for us that makes us valuable, that makes us, that gives us our identity, but it is in some other thing, whether it be outer beauty or whether it be material things or whatever that might look like. For this conversation, it's our physical appearance and a specific physical appearance. And as God said to Samuel about King David in 1 Samuel 16:7, is that you and man might look at the outside, but I, the Lord, look at the heart. And so in this conversation, we can apply that theology to the lie that the way God made us isn't right, or that it could be improved on. And certainly at shallow, levels, there's a certain amount of hygiene and self-care that we all need to do. But it comes to that question of identity and whose are we, and who loves us, and in fact, who loves us so much that He saved us. And so this conversation was a wonderful one for me to have. It was a discussion that really opened my eyes to so many things, that as we unite with a Black family through the marriage of our daughter, that I have, and I'm grateful for, an insight that I didn't have before, and an understanding and a compassion that I didn't have before. And I hope that I will be able to speak wonderful words of encouragement over all of these family members that I will get to interact with. So hope you enjoyed hearing about my artifact, and have a great day. Thank you.